This is Bill. We're at David's place in the Canadian Rockies. It's a beautiful sunny day out. Today we're making New England style clam chowder. David learned how to make this in the Canadian Navy.
Thanks for that introduction, Bill. Today we're going to make one of my favorite feel-good soups, which is New England Clam Chowder. I learned it in the Navy, which shows you how the Navy actually does do some stuff well. The ingredients for making our soup are bacon, butter, celery, onions, flour, canned baby clams, or you can get canned minced clams, potatoes, you can use new or old potatoes, it doesn't matter, evaporated milk, Italian seasoning blend, thyme, Worcestershire sauce, and of course a little bit of salt and pepper. As usual, on Make You Can Make It, we take copious quantities of wine internally to start off all recipes. And then we'll get right into chopping up the vegetables we need for the clam chowder. We'll start with a couple of slices of celery. I'm going to do the same thing we did to this celery, to our onion and potatoes. We'll need about 2 cups of potatoes, and I remind you, don't peel them. Even if they're old potatoes, the skins are healthy, taste good, you're just throwing food away. So we'll be cutting up a full 2 cups of potatoes and that onion. Cutting up the last of the potato, and then we'll move on to the onion. See, just a medium cube for the potato. Take the 2 cups of cut potatoes and put them in cold water because you're not going to be using them right away and potatoes go funny in the air. Okay, to cut an onion, the easiest way to do it is to just start off by slicing it in half like that, making some slices about the size of the cube you want into the onion, and then slicing in a little bit like that, and then just cut your cubes off, and then you can cut the top up after. Cutting up the last of the onion to make about 1.5 cups of diced onion. Well, the next step in the recipe is to cook up some bacon. I'm going to take 4 slices of bacon, cut them in half, and put them in a heavy saucepan just to get them nice and brown and crispy. A couple of minutes later, our bacon, as you see, is just crisp around the edges, not totally crisp, and that's just the way you want it. I've drained the fat off the pan of the bacon because we're going to use it in a moment, and we're going to chop the bacon up into nice coarse chunks. We throw a 1/2 cup of butter into the saucepan that's still over medium-high heat, and just let it melt. Once the butter's just about melted, you're going to add the onions and the celery. Do not let the butter go brown whatever you do, because that'll darken your clam chowder. So just throw those in there, and you stir them for about 5 to 7 minutes until the onions and celery are starting to get a little soft. I've stirred these for about 3 to 4 minutes. It depends on how hot your stove is, but you just want them to be starting to get a little soft and clarified, not really mushy. And then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of flour to it. And stir it up while it's cooking, and the paste you make is called a roux. And now, as soon as it starts to go like that, take it off the heat just while you're finishing your stirring, and stir it until the flour makes a paste on the vegetables. The reason you want to take it off just for a second is you don't want that flour to brown. Okay. Now, once you've got the flour stirred on, put it back on the heat, and I've opened the can but left the lid on so I can drain the clam juice into the there we go, into the vegetables. We've got 2 cans. And you just stir that up until it turns into a thick paste. Here's where personal taste comes in. You're going to add enough water to make the clam chowder as thick as you like it. You can make it soupy or really thick. I like mine quite thick, but still like a soup. So I'm going to start with about 1 cup of water and stir it in. And that's still way too thick. So we just want to get it smooth though before I add any more. So we'll add another cup of water. And it's starting to get closer. And this is a matter, as I say, of personal preference. You can make it as thick or as thin as you like. In all, I added about 2 cups, and it's just the way I like it. A nice chowdery flavor. Depending on your flour, you might have to add more or less. I've turned the heat down to just above a simmer, and I'm going to add the drained 2 cups cubed potatoes. I'm going to add the 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, or it's about 370 milliliters if you're metric. And then you're going to add exactly 1 teaspoon of Worcester sauce, or Worcestershire sauce. Exactly. That's 5 milliliters per metric. You're going to add a half to a teaspoon of thyme. And that's again 5 milliliters, or 3 milliliters to 5 milliliters if you're metric. And about a teaspoon of Italian herb seasonings, which is 5 milliliters. And you're going to stir it all up and let it simmer for 20 minutes until the potatoes are cooked. It's really important that you stir it relatively often because this will tend to stick to the bottom of the pot. So stir it every 2 or 3 minutes. We're just a couple of minutes in and being the idiot am, I forgot to add the bacon. No problem, we'll add it now. Okay, to recap, we mixed everything in here, we brought it to a boil, then brought it down to medium-low heat to let it simmer. At 20 minutes, you want to take a piece of potato out and make sure that it's cooked to your liking. That's still a little hard, so I left mine in for longer. Altogether, it took me about 40 minutes to do it because I had the heat a little bit lower than I should have, but don't worry about it, just cook until it's done. Now actually it was a little hard at first, but now they're just fine. They're cooked with a little bit of crunch left. Now that the potatoes have cooked just right with just a little bit of crunch left in them, put in your 2 cans of baby or minced clams and just stir it in. Now, with the cooking and the potatoes cooking, the clams going in, this has gotten just a little thick. So I'm just going to add a little bit more hot water to get it to the consistency I like. I'm putting about another 3/4 of a cup. And again, it's by your taste. Make it thinner or thicker if you like it. Turn your heat back up to medium and just bring it to a boil again and then simmer it for 5 minutes. Okay, considering the amount of sodium in a lot of the stuff we put in, it's not surprising we had a little taste and it doesn't need any salt. You should taste it and add some if you want it, but it definitely needs a good generous grating of pepper. And then taste that and make sure it's the way you like it. When you've simmered it for the 5 minutes, it's ready to serve. Nice, thick, hearty clam chowder. Our studio audience is anxiously awaiting tasting this delicious clam chowder. So we're here with my wife and my best friend. Delicious clam chowder, a nice loaf of bread, sourdough or whole wheat's good, a beer, life couldn't be better.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Let's go.